Hey there, welcome to my channel where I help you become a better artist. Today's lesson, or should I say viewing, is how to successfully construct a creature's head. Now when you are watching this video, you're going to see me doing a side view sketch. So those of you wondering, what view should I put my creatures in? What's the best view possible? And a quick and easy answer is side view. You can't go wrong with side view. And it's not just with concept art. It's with industrial design. It's with architecture. Basically, any kind of visual display of an object looks the best in side view. And I'm going to explain why. One, you can see the full silhouette in side view. When you see something in front view, it's not the full-bodied silhouette because you have perspective, you have foreshortening and all that. So what looks like a skinny fin on top of a fish, all of a sudden you turn the fish sideways and then you can see the entire thing. This is just an example. And the other reason why side views are good is because it gives you a little glimpse of the front, the bottom, the top, and the rear. So you really can't go wrong with it. This is why in a lot of just concept art in general, especially for like weapons and armor and helmets especially, you can see things in side view because you really have a good silhouette. But anyway, I can go on and on and on. Let's jump into what I'm actually doing here. So it looks a little bit like a lizard. What I'm doing is I'm pulling from years of drawing lizards and reptiles and dinosaurs. I'm not looking at reference for this, but that's not to brag. It's just I've drawn thousands and thousands of reptilian creatures in my lifetime. That doesn't suggest that I don't have to look at reference. Of course I do. The reason I'm going into this is because I get asked quite often, like, hey, are you looking at reference for this? And like, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But when it comes to reptilian creatures, I usually do not, unless it has some funky skull feature. But you're going to see me laying this foundation down. And those of you that are new to my channel, this is a method that I have developed for myself, and it's taken years to learn this, and that is layering the foundation on first in a minimum of 3 different passes. Now, throughout this sketch, and I do encourage you to watch the entire thing so you can see me layer the graphite on. 3 directions tends to be the bare minimum in successfully covering a space. So you're seeing this pencil go back and forth right now. And I think it's the 3rd pass. I'm going backwards too. It's starting to fill the gaps on the paper. Paper being moleskin, those of you that are new. I'm sketching right now with a 4B pencil. Honestly, guys and girls, it doesn't really matter what pencil you use. But I will say that if you want to get good at dark, medium, and light pencil strokes within the same exact drawing, a B pencil is good. Now I'm using a 4B. There are different types of Bs you can use. You can even H's, like just straight up H. But when you get to like the 2H, the 3H, the 4H, then it starts to get almost, the graphite is too hard. So usually like the 2H's and 3H's are for heavy-handed sketchers, okay? And, that's if you have trouble drawing lightly. Well, the harder the graphite, the easier it is to keep the pencil strokes light regardless of how hard you press. That's just the way they're built. When you get up into the higher Bs, like the 6B, 7B, 8B, 9B, excuse me, you might as well just start drawing with charcoal because it kind of goes that way. All right, but you can accomplish a lot with the 4B. I personally have always practiced with the 4B because I think when I started college, I mean, this is back in like the early 2000s when I started in design school. That's what I was given. I was on the table and I started drawing with a 4B, and I'm like, you know what? I really like this. I just stick with the pencil that you guys are good at. Some of you out there are just like, hey, you know what? I don't really like the graphite pencil, the wooden pencils. I like using mechanical pencils. Hey, whatever gives you the best result. Like for me, I don't use mechanical pencils because it screams, do details right away. Do details, please. And then what do? It makes you do details. And it's phenomenal for details. I remember back in the day, this is like high school, when I was really into drawing comic characters. Like mechanical pencils are amazing for comics. It just looks good, especially on printer paper. I mean, you don't even have to buy anything special, just mechanical pencil on printer paper, and it's beautiful. But I think if you want to take your sketching to the next step, you got to use graphite specifically because the graphite itself spreads so much easier on paper, and then you learn how to shade better. I think mechanical pencils are much better for minute details and those finishing touches and those really amazing sharp lines. You can still get it with the graphite pencil, but I think that's one of the cons about it is like you constantly have to sharpen it. So there's that. All right, enough of a little pencil art tip here. So those of you that are familiar with my work, I love doing the eyes first. I do the eye. I give myself a little bit of an indication where that mouth slit is so that I know where the top jaw is and where the bottom jaw is, because each space has its own muscular structure and also bone structure. Okay, because it won't look the same on the bottom jaw. All right, and for lizards and just reptilian creatures in general, it always looks cool when you elongate that mouth slit to go past the mouth. I mean, just look at lizards. Look at monitor lizards. Look at Gila monsters. You got bearded dragons, chameleons. It doesn't matter. The mouth usually doesn't stop right underneath the eye. It usually goes back a little bit, and I think it's just really cool. Lizards are awesome. So here, I'm starting to put a little bit of value in around that mouth slit to show that, hey, there's going to be a lip, and there's going to be some scales and other wrinkles and such that are going to be bending around that area, okay? Because what's going to happen is you're going to see I'm establishing where the shadow is going to be, and I'm darkening that line a little bit because I'm going to be working around that line a lot through this sketch. And I encourage you to just really study what my hand is doing and how lightly I'm pressing against this, because if those of you that are watching this right now are kind of impatient when it comes to laying the foundation down like I'm doing and really taking the time to do it, you're going to see what you can achieve if you just spend a little bit more time with different directions with the graphite. Now, remember I had stated in the beginning that if you lay down a minimum of 3 passes, it's at least a good start, which is true. But now what you want to do is you want to find that area of focus, okay? And you want to keep layering. It's all about layering. At the end of the day, okay, this is what, like a 45-minute something sketch? For a 10-hour sketch, like 6 to 10 hours, I'm not kidding. I will probably lay down 25 to 30 intentional directional passes with my graphite in different directions until that sucker is so smooth that it looks like I took graphite powder and a soft cloth and I just rubbed it across there. Okay, that's the effect that you want to get. Okay, because if you couple that with having very toothy paper, moleskin isn't toothy. I like moleskin because it's smooth and it allows me to shade like this. It gives me the freedom. When you have something with a little bit more teeth to it, like I know Kansan has some, and Strathmore too. They have some really good paper where you can do that. Bristol board, like that's really good too. Bristol board can be kind of bumpy, and then they have paper. Hey, let me tell you something. And I usually haven't told a lot of artists this. If you buy watercolor pads and just sketch with it on like with graphite, you can get some amazing results. Now, I do suggest using the harder graphite, the rougher the paper. And the reason is because when you get softer graphite, it breaks apart easier. And since the paper is already toothy and gritty, you're not going to be able to get the pencil marks in between the grooves of the paper. But you will the harder the graphite because it doesn't fall apart. All right, always remember that. So the rougher the paper, the harder the graphite you should use. This is probably why those of you are wondering why your shading sucks and it looks horrible. It's probably because it's the wrong type of pencil on the paper. There's nothing wrong with the paper or the pencil in themselves. It's just the combination. You really have to be mindful of what you're drawing with and what you're drawing on with the tool that you have. All right. Like when it comes to pen, like ballpoint pens, you can pretty much draw on any smooth paper whatsoever. Like ballpoint pen on marker paper, whew, let me tell you, it's awesome. All right. So what do we got here on the head? Yeah, I'm just starting to lay down some outlines here. If you see the view suddenly shift, like I stopped the video and then it started again, I'm filming on my new camera, folks. Oh yeah. You probably noticed the new angle. I got my phenomenal tripod box lighting, like soft ambient lighting around me. I'm transforming my studio. I am very proud of it, and I am bragging about it. Oh yes. But anyway, you'll notice like when it stops, it's because I looked at my camera and the battery was running low. So those of you that use regular photography cameras that can do video, they run out kind of quickly. So you got to have that backup. So again, I'm focusing on that eye. I love sketching with the eyes, man. I got to get that emotion in there. That you probably feel differently. Like some of you may start with the eye. Do I recommend the eye? I recommend whatever floats your boat. If you want to start with the teeth, fine. When I do the eyeballs and I do the eye socket, I do the shadow, it gives me an instant indication of the personality of the creature that I'm drawing. Okay? Even if it's from some hellish dimension that is merciless and they don't care. Okay? Like Hellraiser, like the Cenobites. But it's just when you put in the wrinkles and you put in the age and the scarring, the closer you are around the eye, you start to have a mental connection with it. This is why when you walk into a museum and you look at the walls of the master painters with their portraiture, where does your eye go? It goes to the faces, right? And then you're starting to notice other things like, oh wow, this artist really painted awesome hair, and like, man, that's beautiful skin, and look at that outfit. Oh, there's a dog in the picture, but so many other things. But when you start, it's always the face. You have to have an emotional connection with it. And I think those of you that are wanting to become a creature and character designer for games and movies, that's something that I want to leave you guys with here. It's like really, really pay attention to the emotional aspect and the impact that your images are giving, not just for you, but for somebody that has never seen your work before and they don't know you, and they're wanting to bring you on a team to do concepts for their game. Okay, so if you can hit them with emotion and storytelling, that's a whole different ballgame right there. But I say different ballgame because you have to tell stories within environments. But when it comes to characters and creatures, you still have to tell stories. Okay, so like right now, there you can clearly see that there's some age going on with this creature. Okay, this creature is not young, but at the same time, it's not a geezer either. It's not super old. All right, so you can see that I've started to put the outline in with the horns. I didn't want the horns to be prominent, so I kept them kind of small. And right now my pencil strokes are, I'm hovering around that eye, but again, when I'm putting the shading down, I'm doing little circles. And I've given this lesson before that instead of going back and forth with straight lines, little circles helps keep things smooth. And it also, when you do a circle with shading, like little tiny circles, it forces you to go back over the previous area that you shaded to cover any gaps that you did. When you do straight lines, unless you're confidently laying the lines down, when you do straight lines, you run the risk of getting streaks. Now, right here, I already have like 5 or 6 passes within that nasal area. So I just laid down another foundation really quickly. And this is how I like working. I'll do an area and then I'll lay down another pass. I'll put some detail on top of that. I'll lay down another pass in a neighboring area. And then you can start to see the real effect of what the graphite is doing and what it can give you. Okay. This is why it was really important for me to put that mouth slit in, because now I did all that preliminary work and it helps me. Now I know where those bone structures go of the cheek, the nasal cavity, and the eye sockets and such, so that I don't go down too far and it doesn't look not right. Okay. So again, it's okay to put in little details here and there. I don't want you to jump straight into details, because then what that does is it makes you myopic and it makes you fixate on an area that probably doesn't need any attention yet. All right. So you can see like that cheek. Okay, so the mouth slit and then the eye socket where the wrinkles are under the eye, that whole area is being worked up. Mainly because I've found real potential in that area. And I think that's where the emotion is. It's there, coupled with how the mouth is bent and all of that. Here's another foundational pass in another direction. So look at how I'm laying the strokes. See how close together they are? Now my hand is off the paper. I think I have my pinky on it. I don't remember. I think I have my pinky on it, but the majority of my hand is off the page. I'm holding the pencil way back there, so it allows me with these bigger strokes. So you can clearly see now that this is more than 3 passes. Here's another pass that's slightly tilted. You just keep doing this, guys. Just keep doing this. And let me tell you something. If you know about my technique in doing passes, bear with me here. Those of you that are brand new that have never seen me draw before, it's okay to physically take your sketchbook and turn it, but still keep your hand at the angle that you are most comfortable drawing at. So let me explain. Every single one of you draws differently. Nobody on this planet, no 2 people draw the same. I hold my pencils differently than anybody else on this planet. So when you're drawing, we all have that one comfortable position that our arm is bent at, that you know it's going to feel good producing lines. Some people may be a little bit more animated than others. Some people may keep their arm close to their body when they're drawing. And there's a certain angle that you grip the pencil at and turn your wrist. Whatever angle that may be, always draw at that angle, but turn your sketch pad so you can continue the drawing with your best leg forward. Well, I should say best arm forward, but so this will allow you to have the best technique possible. All right, it's when you hold the sketchbook still and skew your body, and like there are those certain angles we move our hands at and our arms where we know the line is going to look like crap. We know it, and we kind of brace for it. We're just like, oh, I can't bend this is weird. Just turn the dang thing, and it's fine. Okay, and you're going to get better. Like you'll get better, so you don't only have to draw at that angle. I've been drawing. That's Jesus. I've been drawing since 1984, folks. I've practiced a lot with how I switch my arms around. So there are angles that I still don't like. For example, lower right to upper left. I hate that angle, trying to draw a line. My wrist doesn't bend like that. Some people can do it. So I have to turn my sketchbook until I know the line is going to go that direction. It's just my arm has to stay in my comfortable spot, my comfort zone, if you will. All right, another trick whenever you're doing a side view of a creature head is darken the front of the mouth. If you darken the front of the mouth and you really pay attention to that shading, it adds a sense of completeness. So think about fine art painters. Okay, so what makes a successful painting? I mean, there's tons of aspects, but one of the things that I have learned and I've been taught from mentors is a combination of rough and hard edges. All right. So my drawing here, obviously 90% of the detail is in that cheek, eyebrow, eye socket area. The mouth and the very tip over by the nose, over by the horn and the chin isn't going to be as detailed. But if I add some darkness over there, it's going to give the illusion that I intended on finishing it like that. And I think that's where a lot of aspiring artists get confused with more established artists. It's that, why didn't you finish the drawing? Or why didn't you draw the feet or the hands? Or why is only a little bit of it shaded? It was intentional. Because, and this is something that I have taught in prior lessons, this is what I've taught people that are learning foundation studies when they want to get into like industrial design, fashion, graphic design, it's that you have to put the emphasis in the area that you want to sell the most. So take a look at your sketchbooks right now and ask yourself, did I put way too many details from top to bottom? Chances are you probably did. Because if you take your sketchbook and you hold it up or lean it up against a wall or your desk and stand about 20 feet back, it's a sea of sameness. It all looks the same. There's no depth. There's no, foreground, middle ground, background. You can have a foreground, middle ground, and background with everything you draw. You can even draw a pencil and it looks like there's a foreground, middle ground, and background. All right? It's all about depth. It's all about atmosphere. Okay, so where was I going with that? I have no idea. Whenever I teach these lessons, I just want to say everything and then my mind just starts getting... Anyway, all right, so I'm putting details in here. Back to that little bony opening that's in the skull. So here is see the layering? Another direction. Look how smooth that area of the head is. That there has to be at least 5 or 6 different passes under that. And here's another pass. So it's all about layering. But this is something that I really stress with creature design is bony landmarks. Okay, so if you've never heard that term before, bony landmarks is going to set your creatures apart from just mediocre blobs. So what I mean by that is, have you ever looked at a creature? Have you ever drawn a creature? I'm calling everybody out. I have. Have you ever drawn a creature where there's so much crap happening on it that there's no underlying bone structure, there's no muscles, there's no tendons, or if there are, you just made all that crap up and it just doesn't look functional? I'm raising my hand, and I've been called out on it before. So the bony landmarks give the illusion that there's a skull underneath, because you want to build up that structure. You want to build that foundation up. It's like construction workers, okay? They don't just start building walls. No. They get an excavator. They excavate the heck out of a hillside, out of the earth, okay? Okay, they get the engineer in there. They get the cranes in there. They get the pylons. They drill the pylons. They pack that down. They lay the cement. They build the strong foundation for what's going to go on top. And what's on the top? All the details, all the amenities, all the siding, the facade. I mean, the plants, the awesome windows and all that stuff. You can't have all that unless you build the basement correctly, because it's all gonna fall down. You don't want your drawings to fall down. All right, so this is why I layer the crap out of my drawing. Okay, now the details that I'm putting on right now are going over top of a very nicely shaded area so that I don't have anything to worry about. Because when I put a marking down and then I stop that marking, the shading surrounding that marking takes care of any open area that I don't have details in yet. That's the beauty of it. That's why I stress about laying down foundations. It's super important, because then I can just play at will. You know, I could put a spike there, a little scale there, but there's still some thought that I have to put into this. Okay, so which, if you look at right now, I'm working on the nostril. Okay, so the nostrils are another really important area when it comes to creature design, because we kind of ignore that. I see it ignored a lot. I see it ignored a lot on dragons. I see it ignored a lot on even aquatic creatures. You know, maybe they don't breathe out of a nose. I don't know. But you got to think about what's happening. You know, like one of my favorite artists, Tara Whitlatch, I mean, she's just phenomenal at taking existing everyday animals and turning it into some kind of fantasy. But like, she's just phenomenal. Tara, if you're watching this, you're awesome. I stress about the structures of the eye sockets, about the nasal cavities, anything mandibular, and like all those muscles around the mouth. My previous lesson, so I encourage you guys to check out the previous video that I uploaded about successful horns and how to build that, how to make the horns look like they're growing out of a bony structure underneath all the fat, the fur, the scales, you name it. All right. So yeah, I'm on the neck here. I don't put much detail in the neck on this. I kind of stay away from the neck area because that can be a whole cool focal point in itself. Okay, that gullet. I could put super amounts of wrinkles on there and spikes and scales, like you name it, but I don't want to do that. All right, so here I'm going back to some mouth details and chin. There's obviously going to be some fatty deposits and pockets of fatty tissue right where the larger jaw muscles are meeting the smaller part of the chin. All right, and there's some wrinkles there. So it's all about layering, and that shading that I put down is filling the gaps immediately, so I don't have to work as hard trying to make sure that everything is shaded. No, I already did that. So that should be the first thing that you need to worry about. Now, those of you that just want to make some sketches like thumbnails where you don't want to shade, that's fine too. All right, there's plenty. I want to stress this, okay? This is something that I get asked a lot on my Discord, is that how do I know it's finished? How do I know a sketch is finished? And I say, are you showing people the most important part of what you just drew? And they have to pause for a minute, and then they ask me, like, what do you mean? I'm like, listen, when you put things in your portfolio, are you selling it correctly? You got to sell yourself. Okay, that's how you get jobs. You got to sell yourself. All right. So if let's say, for instance, you know, this is a concept. Okay, hypothetically speaking, the sketch that I'm doing right now. What if this was going to be a concept for a movie? Okay, a movie studio asked me, hey, we need a side view of this lizard creature. All right, it's going to be in a jungle. Okay, I for one, know that the emotional impact is going to happen in the eyes. Okay, in the eyes. Because that's what happens with humans too. We look at the eyes of other people and we can instantly see, well, we can't see. I mean, eyes are the windows to the soul. I know it sounds cheesy, but you got to think like that. So what would sell them then, okay? And the area around the eye that I'm working at the most gives you the indication of several things. One, the scales on the creature are rather large, and there's wrinkles mixed in with scales. I told you that, and you believe that, and I don't even have to put that anywhere else in the body because the area is selling it. I put attention to detail on that part. Two, whatever horns are going to be on that body probably aren't going to be thick and very menacing looking. Why? Because I indicated what those are on the top of the head. It's not the focal point. So that means that the focal point is not going to be spikes for the rest of the creature's body. Okay? Now, what I did give you guys is the indication that it probably is not a nice creature. Why? Because the brow ridge is lowered. It's put in front of the eye. All right? This is kind of like my pet peeve that I have with dragons, is that I feel like, and I don't want to call out any dragon artists because there's amazing dragon artists out there, but I get asked, how do I make something look scary? All my stuff looks cute. And I tell them, stop drawing cute stuff. All right, cute. Large eyes, large batting eyes, large nostril holes. That doesn't suggest that things can't be scary if they have large eyes. No, I've seen some really scary stuff. Five Nights at Freddy's. Those are large eyes and it's freaky. But anyway, the emotion is put in that mouth area. Okay, you can start to see the muscles forming. I gave a little bit of indication of some fat forming around the mouth slit, because you can see like the mouth is closing right now, or it is closing. There's no emotion or animation here, but there's like one tooth hanging out. I think I draw another tooth. Let me look at my sketchbook. No, I only drew one tooth. I'm looking behind me at the actual sketchbook that I drew this in. No, there's only one tooth. But I don't need to show that any more than just that. Okay, that's why I stress how beautiful thumbnail sketches can be. All right, if you want to be a good concept artist, get used to sketching thumbnails. Just don't worry about details. Don't worry about your painting ability digitally or traditionally. Just think about the ideas that you're getting out. Okay, because when you start practicing the line work, your shading actually gets better. It's the same thing. It's just a bunch of different lines put together really softly and close together. You got to learn that hand pressure. But I'm putting shading down in areas where I want to draw your eyes to look. So I'm indicating lightly where some wrinkles are around the teeth and the gums and everything. But I don't find it necessary that you have to focus on that. Okay, again, I'm indicating thicker scales around the nostril. It's totally fine. All right. Now, my hand or the pencil isn't even near the eye socket, but look how much that's standing out now. You really start to see the emotion, especially with the eye socket sunken in a little bit. All right. That personally for me, I love doing that to my creatures just because it looks a little freaky and yes, demonic, but this isn't a demonic creature. There are some animals out there right now that look like somebody's playing the Ouija board. Okay, but this creature is a stern, noble, old warrior and probably looking after his or her kingdom. I don't know if it's a female, could be. Maybe it's both, I don't know. But very stern look, and I wanted to show that emotion in there. Like, you cannot get past Uncle Joe. We're going to call him Uncle Joe. All right, Joe, he's like, nah, man, no, like turn around. I know you like brought a bunch of people here, but it's not going to work with me. So just back up. You're not getting past the door. All right, I'm adding a little bit more darkness. This is what I was talking about earlier with, you know, faded and hard edges. Putting a little bit more darkness near the lips, but the focal point again is not at the very front of the face. It just helps the completeness of the drawing. And listen, this is the fun part now. Like, imagine spending hours and hours and hours on a drawing, the foundation part of it. Okay, you got indications of where the muscles are. Okay, you have some core shadows on. You know, like you're building structure. And the other thing that's the next thing I want to talk about is building forms and building mass and structure, because that's also something that lacks within a lot of creature design. And it does mean that you have not studied anatomy enough, because you don't know what the heck the forms are doing on the body. So please study anatomy, okay? And if you're wondering what anatomy to study in order to be a good creature designer, just look at all the animals that are existing right now. All right? Think about the broad, larger groups of animals, okay? You have quadrupeds, you have arachnids, insectoids, you have winged, aquatic, and you have subterranean. All right? Yes, you have bipedal if you want to consider monkeys on all fours and then upright. You know, I'm taking humans out of this just because I want to get something truly animal other than us. All right? So think about that for a minute. And then what you do is you just start building image boards of high resolution pics, not 72 DPI, right click, copy pasted internet pics. Okay, it destroys the images. Okay, you got to collect the right images, and just put folders on your desktop or somewhere on your, flash drives. I don't care where you put it, of images every day of animals that are unique, animals that are well known, and then you can start to see how those animals are built. Okay, this is what I do to my students and do to them. This is what I ask of them in my creature design workshop. All right, and if you want to sign up for the creature design workshop, you can sign up for April. All right, check out the description below, and I have multiple links that will probably interest somebody. All right, I have my creature design workshop Discord, which is absolutely free to the public. We have an influx of people joining every single day. It's bustling. We got people posting tutorials, talking about games, posting their personal sketches, giving critiques, and it's just really wonderful. There's info about my creature design workshop that you can sign up for. I also have started back up after a very long hiatus of a personal mentorship. Now, this is a little bit more in depth, and I'm holding you to, your schedule and all of that. But if you personally want to get good at something, let me know. When it comes to drawing, doesn't matter what it is. I will teach you how to draw, even though it's digital. I will teach you the movements and the mechanics and the fundamentals of what you're doing right and wrong, and what you're not doing at all. Okay. Now, I will say though that those of you that are wanting to draw like this, but you're so frustrated, like it's just not working, I just want to tell you, please stick with it. All right? Please stick with it. Throughout my childhood, I was obsessed with it. If you want to become good at something, you have to obsess about it. Because you can look at drawing in two different lights: a hobby or a passion. And with passion comes joy and pain. If you are going to accept that drawing is not going to be easy, but your desire and your want is to become great at it, then you're going to be good. All right? Because, listen, I sacrificed, I still had friends. I mean, social, even in college. I went out, but my life became drawing at a very early age. I drew on everything. So you have to ask yourself, do you draw during your free time? If you only draw during your, like here and there, it's a hobby. But if you want to become a master, you have to set aside other things and you really have to obsess about it. You have to be an obsessive artist. Okay? You can't stop thinking of it. If you want to be a musician, you got to play your drums at 1:30 in the morning in the garage, pissing everybody off. Okay? If you want to be like a world-class, I don't know, pogo stick jumper, like what are you going to do? You're probably going to pogo jump all the way to school instead of walking or getting a ride, which you're going to look weird, but do it. You get my drift. You got to obsess about it. That's why I encourage you to join the Discord. There's a lot of other obsessive folks, including me. Okay, we all obsess about art. All right, so during that rambling, you can see the layering of how thick these scales actually are. So I want the skin to look really protective. Again, this creature is really old. Uncle Joe is old. All right. You can see I flipped it again because I ran out of battery. But you can see that I'm starting to put a little bit darker of an outline in there. Some wrinkles up near the nose. I don't put too much detail into the spikes because, again, it's not the important area. But if you have a drawing and it's on paper and you have a lot of shading on there, do you see how I shaded the very top part of its head and I kind of faded it off into the rest of the head, like the ridge? It's always good to give a little bit of the indication of a core shadow going in there, like a rounded surface going around. The reason is because even in side view, there is structure. It doesn't have to be 100% flat, orthographic, engineered drawing from SolidWorks. It doesn't have to be like that. There's form even if it's in side view because you have to give the indication that, hey, this creature does have a brain, there is a head there, and there's skin and an eyebrow ridge and spikes and a cranium going around to the other side. All right. And then there are other areas like the chin here where you can very subtly give bony structure and muscle structures and everything. Okay, but it's not important. Okay, so this is probably, that was probably past number, I don't know, like 9 or 10. See, this is where it gets really fun. And as I always say, now for the fun part. Details. I can start putting those details in because guess what, guys? 99% of the hard work is done now. I laid that foundation so I can start putting wrinkles and scars and bumps and imperfections of the skin and veins and whatever I want to put in there. That's the fun part. All right. Now you can see that structure is coming out at us. And that's what also is going to separate you from other character designers and creature designers and industrial designers and prop designers and armor. It doesn't matter. You want to make it look like it's living on the page versus you just placing it there for show and tell. Okay, you want it to look like it's coming alive. All right, you want to add the depth, you want to add the mystery, you want to add the purpose. All right, when you look at this creature, you go, you know what? It looks like it can guard a temple. It looks like it may be grumpy, but I don't want to go near it to find out. Joe's just fine where he's standing. He's probably on top of a rock like iguanas do in the Galapagos, just chilling, just looking at the sunset, thinking nobody's here. I've been here for millions of years. All right. Some little details in there again. I love doing this stuff. It's so much fun. I couldn't imagine a day going by without drawing. Seriously. I hope you guys feel the same way. And you can see like the smaller areas that I shade, do you see my pencil going in a tiny, it's almost like an oval. It's not directly back and forth. It's like a little oval. It's little circles. It really helps. You guys should practice that. You can actually do it with pen too. Pen. A pen is what you poke somebody with. A pen is what you write with, okay? All right, just getting into a little bit more shade. This is also really important. So even though there's not a ton of light, it's more of like an ambient diffused light from above, there's still going to be a cast shadow of that upper lip on the bottom lip. This is why there's a little lightly done circular motion shadow movement. That was such a long, drawn out title. That's why I'm shading like that. There, that sounds better. Putting a little bit more shadow there. It's also nice having a tripod with the camera now so my table doesn't shake. I always felt so guilty drawing because it would shake and I'm just like, man, I'm just glad my video editor has stabilizers. That's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching me draw, and I will see you next time. Later.